Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Food Ingredients North America Theater. We're happy you're here. We have a great session in store for you tonight. Thanks for sticking around. This session is called CPG Roundtable, 3 Founders Define Sustainability Practices. My name's Amanda White. I'm the conference content manager for Supply Side. I want to introduce our speakers today. So we have Paul and Ari Newman with Cool Chocolate, and Michelle Johnson, CEO and co-founder of Ghost Town Oats. Welcome. So today we are going to talk about sustainability, but I think what I really liked about how this panel came together is the human-centric approach that you all take to sustainability. So if you don't mind, please share a brief background and tell us about that approach that you take in your business.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, my name is Michelle. I'm the founder of Ghost Town Oats, and my background is in the coffee industry. So within specialty coffee, sustainability is something that's very deeply talked about and something that we all very care about, not only from the actual crop, but also people from the farmer side all the way down to the barista. So when we created Ghost Town Oats, we informed the brand by kind of pulling from the experiences of who we see as the real target demographic for plant-based milk, which is people who are more lactose intolerant than everyone else, and that is ethnic communities across the world. So pulling from those experiences, we utilize sustainability in creating a brand that feels very inclusive. Our events, what we talk about, even to the people that I hire, are people who are often overlooked and aren't really given chances to really be able to build up professional development in a startup space. So kind of sustainability for us really just runs like a whole gamut. Like I could talk for 2 hours about all of the different ways, but it's definitely for us at this stage of the company, we are starting with being sustainable and making sure that everyone feels safe, everyone feels like, okay, the people I hire have been baristas in the past, and I'm now kind of upskilling them into startup. So there is a transition from a productivity standpoint, from a mindset standpoint of you don't have to think about the customer's always right anymore when that email comes in. Think about can you actually sit down, process this information, and give someone the customer service that you would want if you're thinking about it from a barista standpoint. But you don't have to jump in and answer that really quickly, and that's just a tiny example. But yeah, that's sort of some of the small ways that we're incorporating sustainability right now at Ghost Town. We've only been launched for 1.5 years now at this point. So there's still so much more that we can do in the future that I'm really excited about.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, Paul and Ari.
So Cool was designed to try to disrupt the inequity that we saw within the cocoa supply chain. So we started in sustainably practices with regards to how we purchased from the people that we bought from, and that kind of carried through in the way that we processed the beans, all the way to the people that we work with, the way we buy packaging, all the way through to the consumers. So we kind of see it also kind of holistically, but we started really to try to create sustainability in terms of how we source, in terms of the people that we purchased from, to make sure that they had a seat at the table, and that is sort of the origin of Cool.
Great. Anything to add, Paul?
Hello. All right. Yeah, so I think that to add on to what Ari's saying is we didn't know what we knew until we actually traveled to Origin to see what were the actual conditions, what were some of the needs, what were some of the community projects that we could support. And through that, we identified that we wanted to focus on directly working with women's associations and cooperatives throughout Latin America. And that became a very strong focus because we've recognized that we identified that by supporting those communities, they were going to reach out and strengthen their own surrounding communities. And the ability, the sustainability that happened through that was seeing some of the smaller groups grow from renting their own space to building their own facility to having their facility of small 11 producers, then having their husbands work with them. And it was just a really interesting transition from being a community that could just develop just enough to something that was also helping support the extension of their community in a deeper way. And it's part of the foundation of what we're trying to do throughout every access point moving forward.
Great. That kind of leads me to where we kind of need to have a pause. I want you guys to talk about how you spent your honeymoon. I feel like that sets the stage for who you are.
Okay. This is all getting a little too personal here, isn't it? Awkward. Turn the lights down a little bit. So my wife, Ari, so we wanted to do something different for our honeymoon. And I'm sure a lot of you are aware of Vitamin Angels, or maybe not. Vitamin Angels distributes vitamin A to children under 5 around the world. Early onset childhood blindness is one of the most devastating things that a child could experience anywhere. So what we decided to do was to split our, we wanted to go to India. So Howard was having a small group of people that were going, and we decided to split our honeymoon in half. 10-ish days would be just being with a team of 4 people distributing vitamin A through northern India, very remote rural villages where we would take a bus, then a dugout canoe, then we would hike for 2 hours. And what we witnessed during that trip is a real strong outpouring of not only community, but that these women were helping their other community members. They would bring their own children for hours to get this vitamin A. And it was so touching to see the commitment that it really motivated us to say, well, how can we do something? How can we make a product, a brand, a tool to leverage consumers to participate in this solution? And we both love chocolate, and we decided that on that trip that we were going to start a company that was implemented those values and amplified those moving forward with every kind of investment that we would do through these groups that we work with. Ari's got things to add.
Yeah, I think it was really evident to us how the impact that women had on their families and communities, and by supporting them. And lots of times there isn't a lot of opportunity in the places that we work for women to have a voice. And so that allowed us to see, like, when women were bringing their children, other children, to get this vitamin A that would hopefully help offset, based on malnutrition, early, or blindness in children. And it just kind of led us to see, like, wow, we really take for granted the opportunities that we have, and we want to make sure that women in places where they don't have a voice do. And so that kind of became our objective, is how can we work with women in these areas to make sure that they have a voice, to make sure that they're making money themselves to be able to support their families and the communities in the way that they want to.
Awesome. Human-centric sustainability is a unique term. How do you define it, and why should it be important to a brand's mission and value?
I would define human-centric sustainability as putting people first when it comes to, not to get all woo-woo, but like mind, body, and spirit in all ways. The same amount of energy that we put into sustainability when it comes to the climate, let's put that energy, if not more, into the people who we work with, who we are communing with as well, selling to, serving, all of those things. Because all of these ingredients that are out here, all of the cups of coffee people are making, the chocolate that's being produced, the cacao at origin, none of that would be possible without the people. And if it is so difficult for those people to get to the point of being able to produce those things, whereas if they're producing it and they're not getting back what it is that they deserve for that, whether that's money or a wealth or anything like that, then it's just like, what is it for?
What do you guys think?
I think for us, like, the relationship between us and okay, I'm going to pause for a second. I think that we all want to be surrounded by people that we care about, right? And we all want to do, like, really good work and have relationships that we want to like invite somebody over and share a cup of tea or coffee or whatnot. And if you think about it that simplistically and you approach your business that way, then what you're doing is you're building friendships, and you have people that are walking beside you to create mutual impact. So when we make decisions based on our business, we don't make decisions based on how it will solely impact our business positively. We think about the communities we work with, and we think, how is it going to impact them? And I'll give you one quick example. One of the early groups that we were going to work with in the Dominican Republic was a small group of 11 women producers. And we started to grow our business, and so we needed more of a demand for cocoa from them. And so in that time, it started from, let's say, 2 metric tons to 4 metric tons to 6, something like this, right? And what happened is, as we were growing, we kept putting these types of demands. Demand's the wrong word. These requests. And their response was yes, of course, because they're seeing the opportunity. They don't know if, in fact, those opportunities will still be there moving forward. So they say yes. Well, it wasn't except for the grace of was it Pilar? So yeah, somebody we work with, a Dominican gentleman that helps us over there, and he was just saying, hey, you guys really have to think about the community impact. Matthew, right? Yeah, you have to think about the community impact of how your requests can impact their community, and the strains and stresses of the realism of what your request represents. It represents opportunity, but it also represents this cascading potential effect that could put stresses on their own community, their own families that were unrealistic. And so it really gave us pause. So we started asking different questions. Like, yes, is this possible, but is it going to impact you? And is it something that we can maybe spread over a course of time? And as we've grown, our requirements have grown. And so, it's containers of cocoa from different origins that we work with, but we're always asking those questions because we want to make sure that as a business, we're not just focusing on us, that, they're metaphorically right beside us, that our decisions or our choices or requests are not negatively impacting them in a way that is not what we set out to do. So, do you want to add anything?
I would like to add on to that real quick. What we call that at Ghost Town is being hospitality first. Like we still very much see our company as a hospitality company, and it's all about the mutual exchange and benefit of caring for one another and making sure that community impact is real. An example of how we have I guess executed on that at Ghost Town is our first fundraising effort last year. We used a platform called WeFunder, and so you can do equity crowdfunding. And the reason why we did that, obviously we need money. All these companies need money. But WeFunder specifically allows anyone to become an investor for as little as $100. And so it allowed us to open up the possibility of creating new investors, creating potential generational wealth. I mean, I'm confident in my ability to grow the company, but obviously I can't say, your $100 is going to be $100 million one day. But it still is that opportunity for education that someone wouldn't have gotten. So baristas, roasters, like people in my family, my boyfriend's family, like people who would never been able to be legitimate investors are now investors in our company because platforms like that exist. And that is our way of being able to spread that like community engagement. And, it's not just us getting money at the end of the day. The hope and the potential is that, okay, now all of these people are bought into this, and we have just like a really strong, tight-knit investor community of people who believe in us enough that, if it does blow up, then everyone, overnight, a bunch of people will get to have something. But even if they don't, they'll still be able to say that, like, they had ownership in something. And for us at Ghost Town, giving that ownership back is so important. Because with other companies in the plant-based milk space, they have utilized the expertise of baristas over time to make their different products pop and to tweak them and to change them. But the barista only walks away with maybe a few $100s, but no real ownership in the product. So we really wanted to change that. So that's what that reminded me of.
That's great. So, Michelle, this is for you. Ghost Town Oats is a female, Black, and queer-founded company. Is this unusual in the CPG industry? And do you feel like you are paving a path here?
For plant-based milk, it's definitely unusual. We're the first of its kind. The first oat milk company that is all of those things, and barista owned. I am a nationally ranked barista, if you didn't know. Google me. Thanks. So yes, it's very unusual, and it is the pressure of feeling that is it kind of is balanced out by the opportunity of also just like carrying that as a crown and as a almost like armor. It definitely this is not my first time creating a brand that is the first of its kind and being in spaces that don't look or reflect me. And during the times where it feels like, you know what, I am so tired of not having a blueprint and having to just create from scratch all of the time, it really is an opportunity for me to be that compass for people behind me to know, okay, if I can do it, like literally 3 years ago, I was a barista, and then now I'm the CEO of a oat milk company. So it's possible, and it's not going to be easy, but it is absolutely possible. And then also, you know, having all of those different identities on our team, it really allows us to get really creative about like how we brand ourselves and market ourselves. And I really believe it's a competitive edge too. We can bring together the professionalism and the high quality ingredients and the barista-ness of it all. We're kind of pretentious in the coffee world, but also we bring our whole selves to the table all the time, and when we show up in spaces. So I think that kind of puts us in a place where we can inform or inspire the rest of the CPG world too, like continue to show up as yourselves, whoever that self is. Like, I don't think any founder, CEO has to look or be any type of one way. I didn't even feel like that as a barista. So it's really, I see it all as an opportunity to just like continue to inspire, not just like people in my community, but people who are watching me too.
Right. This next question is for Paul and Ari. In what ways does Cole prioritize the well-being of the people involved in your supply chain, from farmers to consumers, and after looking at your Instagram, even the piglets? So please tell us about the pigs as well.
Well, one of the things we noticed is we've grown is we're creating a lot of, and I guess it's waste, but it's the husk from the shell after we roast it. In the winnowing process, we create this waste, and we were going to, I guess, like the food waste folks, and they were loving, purchasing it from us, or letting us not sell it to them, letting us pay for them to take it. And we started realizing, man, there's got to be a better way, because we know this is nutrient dense, and we know that it's, used for farm animals. How do we connect? And so we've started reaching out to different folks in our, we live in the Pacific Northwest, and we started reaching out, and we found that these sweet little piglets at a farm called Alluvial Farms can use this particular byproduct and mix it in with the feed for the pigs. And so we have a weekly pickup now from this farmer, Matthew, who comes and picks up these totes of husks. And so I think that's kind of the mindset, is we're always looking to find a way to use every aspect of our product, and that from that waste. And then regarding like just the people that we work with, I think it's always taking the temperature of the room. Like, as we've grown, there's been times when we've noticed like, wow, our team is stressed, like we're trying to do something that's outside of the learning and growing curve that we sort of signed up for, and how can we make sure that we're taking care of our people? So really paying attention to, like, as we grow, what do we all want, and how do we all want this to look, and how can we make sure that people are feeling fulfilled in their roles, but also like that they have some balance in terms of their work isn't so stressful that they can't they can't think outside of that space. So I think Paul spoke a lot about how we take care of the people that we work with at Origin, but I think we try to, not only from the people that we buy packaging from, those relationships, they become friends as well. I think it's important to us to know those people and to have just a good relationship, and to take care really everyone that's in our orbit, because it is like an energetic exchange constantly that's happening, and we want it to be a good one.
Great. Michelle, how does Ghost Town Oats ensure that your products are accessible and affordable to a wide range of consumers while maintaining sustainability standards?
Ooh. So, I would like to sidebar real quick. I wouldn't necessarily say that our oat milk is affordable. It is oat milk across the board, not that cheap. But in addition to that, we are a premium oat milk, and we have priced ourselves as such. And so, although we're not in retail yet, for cafe distributors who do purchase from us, they are definitely paying a little bit more than what's already available. And so far, coffee shops haven't yelled at us about it, so I'm pretty happy about that. But what we work to kind of on the messaging about all of that is that at the end of the day, the issue isn't necessarily as much about affordability as it is about just access. Like, access is really what we care about. So when we first launched, we launched in coffee shops in Los Angeles and Chicago. And because me and the other two co-founders are all, specialty coffee professionals, we utilized our networks at first. And a lot of those coffee shop owners are like of all sorts of diverse backgrounds and all across different neighborhoods in those different markets. So we really honed in on, okay, what are the high impact communities that we can get to first that have a coffee shop near them? So for example, there's a coffee shop down in Inglewood, California, Snoop Dogg's place, called Sip and Sonder. And they were one of our very first accounts, and we made sure to hit them. But also in LA, one of the best coffee shops there, you need to go, is Go Get 'Em Tiger. They have 9 or 10 locations across LA. And we launched there also around the same time. So it's we're trying to make sure that we cover the gamut and making it as highly accessible to as many people as possible. Because what the hypothesis was that regardless of the price, if it's good, if the branding's on point, and if someone who is messing with the product feels like it is for them and doesn't exclude them in any way, they're going to purchase it no matter what. So going off of that hypothesis, we were we're going to put it in this very highly black neighborhood, and then Go Get 'Em Tiger, which is in definitely more wealthy white neighborhoods, and we're going to see what happens. And they all love it. So it's okay, access is the issue, not so much affordability. People like to get, shoes and purses and stuff. They're going to get what they want. But if they have access to it, that's what we found. Right. We solved that.
Right. This is for any of you. How do you balance running a business and creating social impact?
Therapy.
I do believe that these types of ideas just have to be embedded from the beginning. And so, moving your business through this is less about trying to constantly weave in those, what some might deem as an initiative, and just have it be a matter of practice. We really have tried from the beginning as our nexus point to put people first every step of the way, almost to the point to where it impacted negatively our business. We were paying our producers more than we were making because we made commitments. We made those financial obligations, whereas we'd have conversations with retailers and they're like, oh, you're going to have to give me a 30% off. And I'm like, you're sending the email to Dominican Republic, tell them they're not going to get paid. You going to do that? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, so we had to keep those commitments. And that's where it was just always something that we did. And then Ari was saying, with regards to our employees, our staff is constantly growing and we're getting bigger and bigger. And it's really our effort now is to try to really create something that resembles more of a family. And I know that's hyperbole, some people say that, but we genuinely, it's what we work towards every single day, hearing needs, figuring out how to do it. And I think that it's just something that you practice. It's like chopping wood and carrying water. You just got to do it day in and day out. And eventually it just becomes something that harmonizes amongst everybody involved, you know? Our employees, the people we work with, like Ari mentioned, our packaging companies, like whomever that is, there's no distinction. Like we're all kind of rowing the boat in the same direction. Yeah.
Right.
And I should say, we don't always nail it. Like we've had to, we've learned a lot of hard lessons along the way. And so it just is still like trying to get back to that North Star of like, why are we doing this? What's the point, at the end of the day, if we don't feel good with the people that are around us and that we're doing what we set out to do, then there's really no point in it. So we really keep that as a focal point of every decision.
I really resonate with that because it is so much harder to have the missions that we have be a part of the fabric of our companies when it's so much easier to just be like, F all that. Like we could just, get any old chocolate, get any old oat milk and, create any old product and just slap a name on it and sell it. But it's when the idea for Ghost Town came about, I was like, I don't want to do it unless it looks like this, feels like this, and this type of community is able to feel like that this is for them. Otherwise, it's just another brand that's out there. And for us, it really is like balancing that. There's so many days where it feels so hard to just be like why do we gotta be righteous? And like that's just like a real thing. It's not easy. It's not, Jesus didn't have a great time being Jesus. But he did it for a purpose, and that it's that purpose, I'm not that religious, but it's that purpose that keeps us going. And like I said, therapy really helps with the balance because like I said, it's very difficult. It takes so much out of you energetically, emotionally, and mentally, constantly, putting what oftentimes feels like, putting everyone else first, but for a very good reason, and knowing that that still does feed you. But for me as a CEO who has been in hospitality now for close to 15 years and all of that energy being put out for other people, I'm talking about in therapy now, like, okay, girl, it's time to balance that out with like, what is going to feed you so that you can keep putting out that energy because it brings me so much joy to like create the business that we're creating and to put out the type of product that we're putting out, and knowing that I'm changing lives inside of my company and the people that get to engage with Ghost Town Oats and drink it and getting messages, it really helps me to keep me going. But at the end of the day, I just need to be in a dark room, quiet, Food Network on the TV, drinking a glass of champagne. I'm good.
Amen.
I'm good.
Amen, sister. Well, this has been a great, honest discussion. I've had a blast. I just wanted to see if we had any questions from the audience. We have just a couple minutes. We're done.
I'm sorry.
We're done. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm sure they'll be around at the end if anyone has any additional questions. All right.
Thank you.